reiterated time and again how mental health is so important for our overall well being. Providing a psychologically safe workspace is something we still have to seek in India. There are no labor laws, occupational health, and safety employment standards in place to provide a psychologically safe workspace. Employee psychological health and safety is still not stated priority in our organizational policy statement. To discuss all this and further, we have with us today Ms. Priya Khemka, Director CX and Inside NTT Ltd. She has a commendable work experience to her credit. Express Liberate welcomes you, ma'am, to this Women Leadership series. So, before we start, I would like to know about your personal experience. How has the journey been for you?
I think it's been very, very nice. I had a very, very supportive family all through. So my parents, especially my mother, was very, very pro that you should get educated, you should be independent. And it was, and my grandfather always had this view, like we were from a very, very traditionalist Marwadi family. So my grandfather had this view that girls should not be like cows, that you plug them into one wooden stick and then you take it out and then plug them in another house. How traditionally people used to think 30 or 40 years back. So he always used to really work on everyone in the family having a unique identity. And I think my parents, especially my mother, followed that. And as very, very young kids, we were taught to be very independent. So supportive family was always this, and always by God's grace, a good education, and then getting like in a protective environment, having good education, and then entering the corporate world very young and at a stage when it was like really booming in India, like between 2003 to 2005 when I did my MBA. Like India was like growing at a very, very rapid pace but from a corporate point of view. So that really helped. And yeah, initially it was more like if you have this attitude that you want to learn and imbibe things, and then later in your career you want to give out those similar things, then it works very well. So for me it has been pretty good because even post marriage my husband is very, very supportive, and I have a very, very supportive family. So they never make me feel guilty that, oh, you're working and you're not able to manage things. I think I've done pretty well because of the support. So I think one of the very important thing as a girl or as a woman, leader probably, or a person who's doing well at a career is the support of people around you. So it's been quite good.
Wow, that sounds incredible. So, coming on to the challenges that I'm sure you must have faced, did you ever face any gender related roadblocks?
So, like I said, that probably I was one of the few girls or women who did not face it. I think because in a family, like early in the family also, there was no differentiation between the male counterparts or girls being educated, or the amount of money or exposure that you would probably spend towards a girl child and like a male child. So that was never the case. And even in a corporate, I was always in an Indian corporate earlier, and now I work for an international corporate world. I have never experienced, I've never experienced a gender bias, because I was always had this thought that if you are really capable, you have to really, really work very, very hard to be capable. But once you're capable, I don't think so that bias plays a lot of role. Yeah, if there are, like, if you're weak with your own thing, and if you want to give excuses that just because I'm a girl and I need to multitask, and give those excuses in your professional life, I'm sure that bias is generated within, which is probably like kind of it also kind of reflects in your environment. But given that I never felt like that, and I never thought that I should be given preference because I'm a female in my work organization, the organization responded in the same manner by treating me equal to any of my counterparts.
Right. But it's also never a smooth journey for anyone to the top. There are always ups and downs one has to face. So, what is your mantra for when it's getting rough for you?
So for me, when it gets rough, and like in all fronts, it gets tough. Sometimes within your like your relationships at home or within office, with work and colleagues, and sometimes with difficult bosses as well. I think I adopted like with I'm always very very open to feedback, very very open to feedback. So I don't take any kind of like a developmental feedback, maybe in a family structure also or in a corporate world, that people are raising fingers at me and I should be defensive towards it. I take it and kind of I mean I try to maybe ponder over it and work towards it, rather than, and maybe it could be the smallest feedback. And I do not agree lots of times when we are when it gets rough and people are not very conducive towards what you're doing, we are very very defensive and we kind of close ourselves. So I think I try to be open. I really reflect upon myself and I act to improve. So probably like a few days back there was a junior and she said that you're very forthright with your feedback. You and so I actually took it, and I think yes, sugarcoating in a corporate world is important. And sometimes we think that being forthright is nice because people are getting clear messages, but then it can hurt people's sentiments. So it was a small feedback, but yeah, since last 40 days I've been practicing, and I can see that that the comfort level of that person in my team has grown with me in the last 45 days. Yeah.
Right. So now coming to the organization's point of view at the macro level, since you've been in a leadership role for many years, do you think people in the organization have a common understanding of a psychologically safe workspace? Like, do they have a basic level of knowledge about mental health issues?
It would depend from organization to organization. So I work for a leading telecom and IT services company, and a bare minimum education level in my organization is an engineer or a master's in business administration or finance, or maybe a very, very higher technical degree. So I think they're very, very well. So my peer group is extremely educated and from all the Ivy Leagues across the world, not only in India. So in that space, I think people are more aware about mental wellness, and people understand that I am not able to cope up because the work is tough or it needs my lot of attention, but because probably I am actually kind of I'm maybe absorbed in a personal challenge, or maybe I'm not liking the way the team structure or dynamics are working. So in my kind of a profile of an organization, I think people are very, very well aware and sensitive towards it. And we do these regular mental surveys, okay, mental wellness surveys. So sometimes like last year, it was every 90 days, maybe now it's twice a year, wherein they try to gauge that has any major event happened in your life, like maybe you gave birth to a baby, or you lost a spouse or a parent, or you moved cities, or maybe you lost somebody in your family, lost a job. So maybe like life changing events have they happened? If they've not happened, how are you feeling? Are you confident that whatever you're doing, you're fully in control of it, or do you think you need support? So they keep on asking you questions to gauge your mental well-being. And then if your scores are lower than the average or towards the red, then definitely we have counselors reaching out to us to talk about the challenge and help us through it. So, which is very nice, I thought.
Sounds great, ma'am. So, do you think that women leaders are somehow more sensitive towards the emotional and mental well being of people in their organization?
So I would not say that it's that women are more sensitive and emotional and men are not. I think it's a very personal. It's very like it would vary person to person, and in any kind of a setup, the most important thing in an organization is the person whom you're going to report into. I mean that because your entire shop floor level experience in an organization would depend upon the person that you report into. Okay, so I think that person's emotional intelligence, or how much that person would give importance to a work-life balance or other more humanistic requirements of a person would depend. Uh, and I think at the top, because women probably have to, maybe there's a more friction to get into the top. They can be more rigid rather than be more accommodating. So it could be both ways. So,
Right.
and for that also, we do these regular surveys wherein we see, so my score was about 51%, which is pretty balanced in terms of will you give personal, will you have a more emotional bent or professional bent to a particular issue? So my score was pretty balanced and I was happy about it. So based upon my understanding of a particular situation, I take a decision. And I think most people now do that because I think the human value within India specifically is also increasing. Internationally, definitely, I mean, human beings or employees are valued a lot, but in India also things are changing now.
So, from where I see, I think mental well being, in fact, is something positive and all should be working towards it. What role do you think that leaders can play in breaking the stigma that's hugely woven around mental well being or talking about it?
So yeah, leaders can break that stigma if they kind of have, like, if they're good listeners and they can really imbibe the non-verbal communication with people around them, and reach out to them if they think that somebody's struggling with, and you get to know very quickly if you're like, if a person is struggling in a particular environment. If they can reach out to them and talk proactively, I think the stigma would be more broken, because sometimes the juniors, when they say that I am not able to cope up with people, don't take it in the good stride. But if a leader says or has visible cues and then that person reaches out, it's a little easier. And I don't think so, again, in the space that I am, and it could be very different for different organizations, in the space I am, I don't think so that a mental well-being is now taken as a stigma, because I'm more in a very, very educated kind of a surrounding. But there could be another organization, probably you're dealing with workers or laborers who are from villages, or like, or unskilled or uneducated or having only primary education. So it could be very different there. But in a place where people are extremely educated, I don't think so they take it as a stigma. I think people want to be open about it because they know that the organization as a whole or the systems or processes are made to help them rather than pull them down.
Right, right. So it is evident that you have managed to work-life balance and great mental health well-being, which is very visible from your ever smiling and pleasant persona. Can you share some tips on how you were able to achieve that?
So I think living in the present, that really helped. I moved loads and loads of cities or places. And when I was in Delhi, probably I moved so many, like from Noida to Gurgaon and sometimes in South Delhi. So I moved a lot of houses. Then I got married in Dehradun. So I think living in the moment and kind of like really, really trying to embrace the surrounding that you have, rather than being that, oh, I was in South Delhi and I was better, and I was in a comfortable house in Amritsar and that was good. So one is probably living in the moment. Secondly, obviously having a very, very strong faith, that really helped me. So I am a practitioner of Nichiren Buddhism, and I'm a very senior leader in Nichiren Buddhism in Dehradun now. And over last 12 years that I've been practicing, it has really helped me give answers to everything. So I think in a very, very strong faith in any philosophy really helps you to grow into like from an emotional point of view, and really tackle world it makes life much easier, because you are like striving towards something higher rather than all the chores of life. So all the job and raising a kid and household is all chores, and you understand that your purpose is a little higher, rather than just making, like, living as a Priya, just like a Priya, a simple Priya, and doing all the chores. And you have higher purpose in life, which is more humanistic. That really helps. And I think lots of self introspection. I do lots of self introspection. So if anything comes in my mind, maybe you can say that I think a lot, but I think not to pull myself down, but to really reflect and act upon it. So I think those will be the 2 or 3 things that I live by.
That's really insightful, ma'am. I'm sure with leaders like you in workplaces, this is state of mental well-being is no longer an attainable goal. Thank you so much for sparing your valuable time and discussing some great insights on this. Stay tuned for more discussions with more leaders on Express to Liberate. We really need to keep pouring our heart out time to time.
Thank you. Thank you.